Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Monday, April 20th, 2020. Before we get started into today's show, just a food for thought. The stock market closed today at down 592 points. That's not that big of a deal. Something I want to bring up is that oil prices today have entered an unknown territory. And I get it. The demand is low. So we've got too much in production, nowhere to put this stuff. Today, oil closed just now at 4 o'clock at negative $31 a barrel. So, one of two things. It's simple, and it's just a simple supply and demand issue, and there's too much on the market. We're saturated with oil. Or is this the beginning of a globalized effort to devalue fossil fuels? And is the goal to make it to the point where you're not going to make any money if you stay in the fossil fuel business because the markets are being driven down? I know that sounds conspiracy theorist, but the fact that we are looking at oil at negative $31 a barrel is absolutely mind-blowing. So, and another analyst also mentioned that we could be behind the scenes seeing the death of a giant oil company, and that's causing these markets to go crazy right now. That's a possibility too. There could be a giant a company out there that could be suffering and losing their business, and that's throwing this out of whack as well. They're saying now negative 37 a barrel. So watch out. We're going to get some cheap gas prices here soon. That's the good news. But I just wonder if this is the beginning of the effort to devalue oil and make it almost impossible to do business in the oil industry. Or is this just a fluke and we're just seeing crazy stuff because of coronavirus? Either way, just thought I'd start the show off with that. Kind of an interesting situation here, and really, stock market, as you all know, you can't just take one day and say, well, that's it, we're done. It's going to be a series of days. We'll have to take a look at the data, but just something to watch. I'm sure it's some kind of a hiccup that can be fixed over time. But like I said, is this the beginning of the world trying to devalue oil? Because right now, the barrels that are being used to ship the oil in is worth more money. A 20-ounce Diet Mountain Dew is worth more money than a barrel of oil at this time. So anyway, all right, enough of the babbling. Let's go to the space weather. As you guys can already see at our space weather station, solar wind speeds are coming in at 339.9 kilometers per second with a density of 6.6. Now, we are blank once again. This now makes it 15 days in a row without sunspots. 85 days in 2020 have been spotless, which brings us to 77% of the year without sunspots. Last year in 2019, we also finished the year with 77% of the year being spotless. So interesting. We're getting ready to approach month number 5 of this calendar year, and we're maintaining the same solar minimum conditions, basically, so far here in 2020. KPN-C is at 2 right now, but we were at a 5. We had a G1. I'll talk about that here in a second. Cosmic rays are down to 10.3%. Remember, we had it at 11.1 last week. Now that's dropped just a little bit, still high. And we are expecting some brief solar wind increase, possibly later on, possibly nothing too crazy, but they're blaming a coronal hole in the southern region that could graze the magnetic field, causing this possibility of increased solar winds, but very, very unlikely and very weak, to say the least. And the TCI is down 3.38. We've seen values around 3.6 and higher now for over a month. Now we're starting to see temperatures starting to settle again and get cold again in the upper atmosphere. Well, not that it wasn't cold, but it's still very cold, and it's pursuing the all-time record, which is 2.05. That's the TCI level. That record was set in December of 2009. So still a long way from the record, but when you look at the warm side and how much this value goes up, 3.38 is still very, very, very cold. Let's go over to the grandsolarminimum.com and take a look at our space weather page, where we have all these neat little charts and graphics and all that good stuff here too. You guys see there's your KP indices. It was at a 5 for a couple hours in the early morning hours. And that wonderful picture that we see on the cover picture for our video today is courtesy of SPACEWEATHER.com, an image captured out of Minnesota as they saw southern or northern lights that far south in Minnesota. Interesting day already for sure. And take a look at our star, what could be coming around the bend for us. Well, remember that bright region I was talking about? And my, what a drastic difference we've seen this thing go through just since Friday. And I'm talking about this right here. This was more located back here on Friday, much brighter, much bigger. And as you see, as the sun is going towards the part of the solar system that has the least amount of magnetic connection from the sun, that thing is weakening. So, bright active region in the vicinity of solar cycle 24. If it does become a sunspot, it could be the end of 24. But right now, it's too far out to call. We could see this piercing the eastern limb by Tuesday night, early Wednesday. And by then, maybe midday Wednesday into Thursday, we might have an idea if this active region becomes a sunspot or not. So right now, I'm not looking favorable, if you ask me. Very weak sun, nothing really to report, nothing really to talk about. The sun is sleeping, it is quiet, but we did get a surprise G1 minor geomagnetic storm. This was this morning. Negative polarity southern crown coronal hole extension has moved into a geoeffective position, enhancing the solar wind environment. Unsettled levels are expected on the 21st as high-speed stream effects persist. By late April 22nd, a positive polarity coronal hole high-speed stream is expected to become geoeffective, causing some quiet to unsettled conditions. Now, what does a G1 mean? And Mari made a great video, and I'll have to dig it up sometime to refresh. But the G1 is the weakest of all geomagnetic storms. G1, G2, G3, G4, G5. G5 is, that's bad news. G5 will disrupt possibly some electrical grids. G4 could be radio signals disrupted. Nothing crazy. So really, you need a 4 or 5 to really cause any kind of damage. Anything from a G1 to a G3 is quiet to moderate. Nothing really crazy, even with a G3. But we've been talking about how the cycle shifts down. And, you know, from 2016 to now, we saw a bunch of G5, G4 storms. And now we're at the bottom of this solar minimum activity. And we've seen, this is probably the first G1 storm. It's possible. I have to do a fact check on this. This might be the second one of 2020, possibly the first one. I will get back to you on that. But looking back here, I don't think we've had a G1 storm since looks like October of 2019. So just to give you an idea when the last time we had a G1 storm. And before that, those used to be sort of frequent. But again, there's nothing really crazy about a G1. It's very, 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 very minor. The only thing that is really good about these storms is that the auroras and the bright red is where you get to see them in its best viewing area. And yes, believe it or not, folks in Minnesota did get a peek at this morning's view of this Northern Lights. Absolutely gorgeous. And then I've been seeing a lot of pictures like this popping up. North Georgia treated to a site of rare rainbow cloud formation. And I'm going to find some of my old pictures on my Google Drive before I really got serious into the research of grand solar minimum. So back in 2015, 2016, I took a lot of photos when I lived in Southwest Ohio, and I have a lot of pictures of this right here. What looks to be cloud formation, cloud nucleation, cosmic rays contributing to this, and ice crystals forming a reflection. This is showing us just how drastically cold our atmosphere is. And I remember seeing this back in 2016 thinking, what is causing? I mean, it was like almost twice or three times a week I would see these beautiful formations in our skies. And to me, this is showing that we are starting to see these kind of atmospheric changes now. It is moving further south. To see these kinds of clouds popping up in Georgia is telling us that we are seeing atmospheric conditions, upper atmospheric conditions dropping further south than what was original. Back in 2016, we saw it in the Southwest Ohio skies. Makes sense. But as we continue to cool, this is spreading out even further now. And I'm not sure how rare this is or not, but I've been seeing a lot of photos like this. And this is out of Georgia, so that's pretty far south. But that just represents our changing atmosphere, how cold it's getting up there. And like I said, we haven't seen nothing yet. This is only the very, very beginning of the grand solar minimum. And while I'm talking about the very beginning of grand solar minimum, I'd like to announce that on Friday night, we'll be doing a show with Lee Wheelbarger. Lee was the person who helped us out, myself especially, with understanding grand solar minimum and solar cycles. So Friday night, we will bring him on the program and discuss grand solar minimum related and really anything. But I think we're going to stick to the grand solar minimum because there is a lot to talk about. I know that the virus takes up a lot of the headlines, but guys, it's almost acting as a distraction from what's still happening. Grand solar minimum is not taking a break just because there is a virus pandemic going on. It is still in effect. And speaking about those effects, lava flows on the southeastern flank of Klyuchevsky volcano in Russia, a moderate to explosive eruption on the Strombolian and sometimes Volcanian types continues at Russia's Klyuchevsky volcano. The aviation color remains at orange. On April 18th, lava flow began to move on the southeastern flank of the volcano. By 22 UTC, a gas steam plume containing some amount of ash was extending about 62 miles northeast of the volcano, and it was rising up to 23,000 feet. Now, there is an alert for this volcano that another eruption of 16 to 23,000 feet is possible at any time now. And usually when they put those warnings up, they really want you to pay attention for at least a good 3 to 5 weeks when that time frame. Sometimes it's a little longer, sometimes a little quicker. But usually when they say things like this, we're talking about the next 3 to 5 weeks, we could see another eruption similar to the ash plume that is happening currently. And then we had on the 19th, we were talking about explosive eruption and strong ash emissions at Etna volcano. The aviation color was briefly raised to red in Italy, as if we don't have enough going on in Italy. Unfortunately, we've seen Etna pop up in and out of the headlines here a few times in 2020. The volcanic tremor amplitude at the Etna volcano in Italy showed a rapid increase to high values early Sunday morning on April 19th, 2020. This activity was followed by a lava fountain and strong ash emissions. The aviation code was raised to a red at 7:24 UTC and then lowered back to orange just about 5 hours later at 12:26 UTC. And as you see, watchers with their awesome work as always. Yesterday's eruption activity started around 6:30 UTC Ash emissions were rather mild during the early stages, followed by a gradual increase in intensity around 8:46 UTC time. The volcanic plume rose to about 3.1 miles above sea level and drifted to the east. The ash relapsed on the eastern side of the volcano, mostly in Valley del Bove, and fine ash has also been reported in the town of Zaffarina. The lava was continuing to flow at least till around 9:55 UTC. Again, more images here from Watchers.news. Thank you very much for your hard work and dedication over there, Teo. This website and a few others are very reliable on catching the extreme, the unique, and just the worldwide news when it comes to climate and seismic activity. A strong and shallow 6.1 earthquake hits near the east coast of Honshu, Japan. Ohunatnu, actually, in Japan, is where the earthquake originally came in at 6.4. It has now been downgraded. A strong and shallow earthquake, registered by the JMA as a 6.1 now, hit the east coast of Honshu around 2039 UTC. That was April 19th, 2020. The agency is reporting a depth of 31 miles. The USGS is reporting at 6.4 with a depth of 25.9 miles. Again, the epicenter was located about 21 miles east-southeast of Ohunatnu, Japan, population around 35,000. There was a brief period of concern for a tsunami watch, but they later canceled that, and there was no warnings or risk or any kind of tsunami threat at that time. Also, like to add that there was no injuries or fatalities or any kind of damage that has been reported at this time. So, people get a little nervous when you see earthquake, Japan, off the coast. Of course, no one will forget what happened at Fukushima. And, so when you see headlines like this, it makes you a little nervous, but again, nothing to be worried at this time, thankfully. But we have had some seismic activity all around the world too. So I feel like even though the numbers were close to what the average usually is for seismic activity, I feel like we've seen an uptick a little bit in 6-point and higher earthquakes, especially here lately with volcanic activity starting to pick up as well. And we had a severe hailstorm in China. A powerful hailstorm hit Pitagan County in the province of Guizhou, China on Saturday, April 18th, 2020, resulting into properties damage and power outages as well. We'll watch a little bit of this. High winds, hail. 1.2 inches in diameter. That's a heck of a storm. It says here the hailstorm lasted around 25 minutes. Last month, a series of severe weather events struck the area as well as nearby provinces of Hubei, Jiangxi, and Sichuan. Heavy rain, hailstorms, and snow resulted in damage to homes, cars, and crops. That was newsworthy there. And then another newsworthy mention here. This happened on Sunday. Unfortunately, on top of the bad news that we got out of Canada with the shooter who decided to, if I heard this correct, 16 people lost their lives and 5 houses were set on fire. On top of this, I'm thinking to myself, well, Nova Scotia got a foot of snow, so I'm curious to see where this guy was. But Cape Breton is just beginning to dig out from a mid-spring blizzard that walloped the region, giving people all the more reason to stay home. Sunday morning in Sydney looked more like February than the middle of April as residents woke up to roughly around 30 centimeters of snow being blown about and howling winds. Now, April 20th, not that extreme for snow this time of year, but it is a little extreme when you're talking about a foot or more of snow, blizzard-like conditions. I mean, look at the visibility just from this picture here. Obviously, we've seen an uptick in cosmic radiation, so there's more highly charged particles in the atmosphere that is allowing for these kinds of weather events to continue to happen. In the south here in the United States, we've had probably close to 8 inches of rainfall in certain locations in just the last 2 weeks. So we are saturated in the south, snowy in the north. And this pattern looks like we could still see headlines like this throughout the early parts of May as well. And then actually, I'll have to change the title. I thought this was AccuWeather's story, but this is actually Weather Channel. Mark, if you don't mind changing that for me, actually. I put AccuWeather in pronunciations or parentheses. It's actually from theweather.com on the title. But it gave us its summer outlook. And, you know, it's not my summer outlook, but I wanted to talk about it because it's such an average and boring summer outlook. In fact, this did not take much talent at all. I'll show you what I mean. So here's May temperatures, you guys. I'm not going to play the video. I'm just going to move it forward and show different slides here. There's the May temperatures. Here's June to August. That's a good way of looking at this, right? Much above average in the Northwest. I'd like to see Alaska too, because if Alaska is also above average, we are right on target when it comes to grand solar minimum conditions, okay? Above average in the west, parts of the south, and then parts of the middle part of the country in the northern plain states around the Great Lakes, near or slightly above average. So what does that mean? For the whole summer, not really that hot, just about average. Above average for the Northeast for the entire summer, that remains to be seen. I'm always skeptical of temperature outlooks in the Northeast because I live up here. So let's take a look at June. Pretty much from the middle part of the country all the way over to the East Coast, we're at near or slightly above average temperatures. Not that big of a deal. July. Here we go. Most of the mid part of the country staying the same. Still pretty warm in the Northwest. Slightly below average in the Southwest, guys. Check that out. Los Angeles. Might get in on some of that action. San Diego. And then we go to August to round out the summer months. And you can see the majority of the coverage of the country is above average. Now, why am I calling this a lazy forecast? Yeah, I think it's lazy forecast. Of course it's going to be above average in August. It's always the dog days of summer in August. Now, here's why I'm not surprised that they're calling for average temperatures or slightly above average for the most part of this summer. Above average temperatures, guys, only means it could be anywhere from 3 to 5 degrees above average. So if it's normally 80 degrees, maybe it's 85 degrees a couple days, and then it's back down to average. This is not a forecast that says, oh, here we go. Warmer than average conditions expected for most of the lower 48. Warmer than average conditions. When you see that headline, you think, well, we're warming. Another record year, right? This is going to be another one of those, oh, this is the 5th warmest year in record, blah, blah, blah. No, this is so misleading that above average really isn't that much. And much above average could be 5 degrees above normal or 6 degrees. It's not going to be 10 to 20 degrees above average. So what a lazy blanket forecast for this summer. Now, I will say this, the surface sea temperature anomalies. They are, if you guys can see the box here that Weather Channel has pointed out, we are seeing some cooling right here. And thank God that the Weather Channel told the truth about that. It usually means that we are heading towards La Niña conditions. So what we're seeing this summer, to me, is a direct effect from grand solar minimum. Shorter summers, June, July, August. Notice how we're not looking at May. I mean, they do kind of include May in the beginning, but I don't call May a summer month at all. So the fact that some areas are going to be above average temperatures in May just means that some areas are going to be a little bit above 65 degrees or a little bit above 75. Doesn't mean that, you know, get Al Gore out and get him back on podiums and start speaking about global warming and the Arctic melting and all that good stuff. But anyway, but I just wanted to point this out. Don't be fooled by mainstream hype with misleading titles. Just like with the hurricane forecast, they put above average hurricane forecast. Well, when the average is 2 to 3 and you're predicting 4, that's not much above average. So what I'm saying is perspective is everything. Do your own research, read for yourself, because if you rely on some of these people out here in the mainstream media, they just want to feed you what they want you to think, and they want to continue to give you that, what do you call it? That narrative of we are living in a warming planet. I was watching CNN. I know, big mistake, right? But you know, when it comes to the virus coverage, they've done a pretty good job. When it comes to politics, they suck. When it comes to climate change, they're miserable. Some of the bull crap they were peddling in this commercial, they have a program on about climate change and how things are just permanent now, and all this misleading and lies they were telling in this little clip. And I'm just like, I don't know if I can even watch that. I know I should, because I run a channel that deals with climate. But at the same time, I'm not so sure about if I could do it, watch the program, and not be triggered. That's my biggest worry. I don't know if I could sit through and watch that crap. But anyway, a lot of the mainstream out there, they want to make it like we're warming, and you know, and that's great. I hope CNN and other channels actually admit or actually try to say that we're warming right now. And then we could throw it in their face that the industry, the industrialized industry out there that produces the amount of CO2 they do put in the atmosphere, that being shut down, how are we warming? You said that CO2 rise was temperature rise. Well, in fact, CO2 rise is only concluded so far. We've seen cooling. And we got about 11 days till we get the results from Dr. Roy Spencer for the month of April. I expect a trend to start of cooling. Even though we are heading into summer, I expect a cooling trend to develop on the UAH. Now, I've done this before and went on a limb, but with the conditions here being neutral, and we've heard talk about La Nina. It looks like indeed it could be happening. Sunspots continue to drop. Volcanoes continue to erupt. This could be a pretty cold year. It'll be a head scratcher. I'll tell you what, it'll be a head scratcher, folks, if we start seeing temperatures of the UAH going above 70 and all that stuff. I'm telling you, it'll be a huge. I will have to take a step back for a week and what is going on now? What? How do you explain this? The temperature rise for this past February. Again, thanks to one of our subscribers, Scott Rose, who showed me the 3.6 year cycle and brought up the fact that this has happened before. Low solar activity, but we had the El Nino, and that contributed to milder temperatures into the fall and winter months. So, and then a report quickly on what happened again over the weekend in the South. Yes, storm batters in the South gets hit again with another round of deadly severe weather. Now, this was nowhere near as bad as Easter weekend, but for the second straight time in April, severe weather has struck a storm-battered South with damaging trio of tornadoes, hail, and thunderstorms for many communities. Cleanup from Easter weekend tornado outbreak hadn't even concluded yet. As of Monday morning, over 20,000 residents between Alabama and Mississippi are still without power. Significant and widespread wind damage was reported in Coosa and Tallapoosa counties in Alabama on Sunday morning, according to the National Weather Service in Birmingham. And that truck is total, unless you can put it on a frame stretcher. I don't know. That's a pretty sad sight there for any of you who are truck lovers out there. Yikes. Mississippi State of Emergency Management Agency confirmed one death in Marion County near the border of Louisiana related to the storms. We're already flooded out. We've had hours of rain and more to come. Remember the rule, don't do dumb things. A train spotter reported 1.5 inches of hail, 1.5 inches in diameter hail in Harris County, Texas. Large hail was also reported near Waco, while golf ball size hail was seen near Woodway. Waves of rain and thunderstorms expected to produce heavy downpours as well as damaging wind gusts up to 80 miles per hour and hail into Sunday night across the region. Several tornadoes were possible, and they did appear. So the South, 2 weekends in a row. And this goes back to, why are we seeing such instability in the atmosphere? Well, a lot of it has to do with these very, very upper atmosphere temperatures of how cold it is. And that Gulf air comes up and smacks it right in the face. And we get a lot more severe and more possibility of tornadoes, more damaging tornadoes. We had a lot of E3 and E4 tornadoes that happened last weekend on Easter. I don't think that we're out of the woods anywhere at all as far as tornado season is concerned. And we have still a long way to go. Mostly we'll see strong tornadoes through the month of May and into early June as well. And then, of course, your pop-up tornadoes from time to time in various parts of the United States for the rest of the summer. Thank you, Knife Collector, for your donation. And also, Dorothy Rose, thank you very much for your donation as well.
My battery died. I'm trying to.
Appreciate that very much. Just ironic. I was getting ready to mention Knife Collector, and then Dorothy also just donated. So thank you very much, guys. I want to point that out real quick. This channel is it's funded basically by you guys. Our donations, the super chats, used to make ad revenue money on these YouTube videos. It's not so much these days. I have a feeling that Google is just not spending the money that they used to spend on advertising. So whatever you guys provide to this channel goes a long, long way. It helps with a lot of the channel's producing equipment and fees just to have the website up and just general maintenance and above. So again, thank you very much to our subscribers who are a big reason why Grand Solar Minimum is still kicking after all these years. Let's go ahead and check out some GFS action here on extended forecast outlook. Right now, most of the country is pretty quiet. The East Coast dealing with some showers. And then by Tuesday, my son's birthday, we'll deal with some snow in the upper Great Lakes, Minnesota, Michigan, rain showers across the Ohio Valley. As this rain and that's right, snow chances for New York, Tuesday, April 21st. Now, this will be late night stuff. This won't be during the day. This won't stick. This won't be a problem. But we're still getting snowfall in the month of April here so far. Pretty quiet other than that. We got another low pressure system trying to get itself organized back in Texas, Oklahoma, southern parts of Kansas. And that will be the next topic of our storm system. It gets up speed right around Thursday. So next week, once again, we will have the potential for severe setup for the southern part of the United States and the Tennessee, Kentucky Valley, Ohio Valley as well. So this low pressure system could be very powerful for the Midwest and the Deep South once again. Once this low pressure system brings its rain to the Northeast by the end of the weekend, another low pressure sets up right behind it, comes through the Midwest, once again coming through the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, into the Northeast 3 days later. And as this system moves out, it's going to drag some colder air. Yes, colder air, late April. We're talking temperatures below freezing overnight, not really doing much to the daytime temperatures. Moisture moving out once again, more moisture developing in the northern plain states by April 28th. So 3 days later, another major low pressure system coming across the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and the South once again. So we're going to end out April pretty darn wet as this low pressure system here on the 30th just kind of cycles around the Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes region. Look at that. That's 2 days, 3 days. This low pressure system is hanging out. This is a little worrisome right here. And this is way far out, so let's not get too worked up. But watching this low pressure system just kind of stall out right over Ohio. Check this out. Almost 3 days. Longer than that. We see this low pressure system roar its ugly head. Oh my gosh. So, something to watch here. April 29th. That's a Wednesday. Midweek. Not this coming week, but next week. We will see rain moving into southwest Ohio across the south and Tennessee Valley. This low pressure system begins to spin and spin from the April 30th to May 3rd in Ohio before it finally moves off to the northeast by the 4th of May. Dried out weather after that for about 24 hours, and then another system comes through the Ohio Valley, forming on this jet stream. Colder air in the northwest, and yes, still colder air in the northeast. How cold? Again, it's May, so it's not going to be, 30s. But when you look at temperatures in the 40s on the 6th of May, the capital region of New York, 45 degrees. Buffalo, New York, look at that. That says 52. Not bad. Yeah, right. 52. May 6th. I hope that's an overnight low. It looks like a daytime high. So is Weather Channel's summer forecast correct so far? Is May going to be right above average for most people? When we see a dip in the jet stream where that low pressure is on May 1st, look, you can see it. That warm air is around it as this thing swirls. Watch, I'm going to start on April 30th. You can see where this low pressure is causing a disturbance too. Look at this. Right over Ohio. And then a drastic warm up afterwards. But the northeast stays cold. The northwest stays cold. The south in the Ohio Valley is only close to regional temperatures at the time. There's your daytime highs for Wednesday, May 6th. 49 degrees in Albany, 42 in Bangor, Maine. Massachusetts, mid-40s. Pennsylvania, Harrisburg, 51 degrees, 49 in Pittsburgh. May 6th. So where was I going with that summer forecast thing? Well, not surprising to see a short, hot summer, which is what I think we are going to see the new normal, I should say. Short, hot summers or average summers. And then it seems like from September through May, we get snow in various parts of the United States. Plain and simple. Mari, would you like to say hello to our fine folks out there in the Grand Solar Minimum land?
Absolutely. Out in Grand Solar Minimum land. My battery, see, I just ran out of battery and I went to go get my charger. And then I came over here and unplugged it. And now my laptop is like, oh, no, you didn't. Knife collector and let me just, Dorothy, thank you for the super chat sticker cuteness things. Richard asked, I was talking about, the conundrum we're in with New York. And it's a big deal that we have members supporting us right now, because I don't know if I'd be motivated to come on at all if it wasn't for this wonderful, hugely knowledgeable, great community that we have. There's so many members in this group that contribute and share information. So, I mean, you guys keep us going for real. And I'm just really humbled by you sticking with us through the good times and the bad. It's been mostly turbulent lately, but, hang in there and thank you. Thank you for
definitely appreciate it, guys. Your support here on the channel, watching the content, sharing it, commenting is all greatly appreciated. And of course, when we do get donations, we don't expect that, especially during a time like this. But when we do get donations, it is greatly, greatly appreciated, and it goes right back into this channel. So we appreciate you guys very, very much.
Well, they're keeping the website hosting. Yep. I got to buy like SL certs every year. We just spent like $80 on it. It goes to our call-in shows, which I have to renew as well for this month. So thank you for holding the boat afloat and keeping us going.
I think
giving us a reason to come back and keep on doing what we do here. And I really hope we get a lot more. I have so much planned for this channel, but with what's going on in New York here with everything, things are turbulent, and I'm trying to plan our future out. And, Jake's not working. I'm not working. we have to come up with other solutions. I was talking to people in the chat about that. So all I can say right now, really, truly, is thank you for all your support, whether it's here as a YouTube member, on Patreon, or through PayPal, or buying t-shirts. We haven't sold a t-shirt in like a month, but I get it. Who wants a t-shirt?
What a time to buy a shirt.
The world's falling apart. You know what I mean? So hang in there, everyone. We love you. Get your seeds growing, and, reach out to the community, whether it's in the comments or our Facebook group or on our website. Let us know what you're doing. It's springtime. What do you have started? I want to hear from you guys.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you again for tuning into the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Don't miss our show this Friday with inventor Lee Wheelbarger. He'll be joining us. That's going to be a 9 o'clock show. That's prime time. Not sure. We might do a call-in. I don't know. We might do a Q&A for Lee. I'll have to talk to him and see how he feels about that. But again, Friday night this week, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, inventor Lee Wheelbarger will be joining us on the program. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us today. We hope everyone has a safe and healthy evening, and we will talk soon. Take care.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.